Unafraid, Reister or wrong, George Reister here. The weekend is almost upon us. But thank you guys for joining me today. Big day. Because it's the greatest Unafraid show of all time. As usual, always the greatest Unafraid show. And why? It's because of you guys. Because of you guys joining me every single day, bringing that heat, keeping it real, keeping it 100 on a daily basis. What we got up for you guys today. So the Pac-12 schedule, Commissioner Larry Scott has made some big changes to the schedule, and it's got to do with the college football playoffs because they are not going to allow themselves to continue to be jobbed by the SEC and the ACC. One of the first things. We got the Balls. The Balls got that ball, and they took their ball away from UCLA, and they're going over to Europe. Their dads hired them an agent, and now they're going over to Europe to go play some basketball. The Ducks, some interesting news surrounding their head coach, their next head coach, and Aaron Fentress trolls the Ducks, and I fell victim. If you saw Twitter yesterday, I fell victim to this man's trolling. But we're going to start out like we always do with a little quick hitter. I posted it on my Twitter this morning. An odd thing happened. So there were firefighters who were called to a YouTuber's house because he cemented his head in a microwave. This dude has 3 million subscribers. He cemented his head in a microwave. And I'm sitting there like, okay, yeah, if you're a firefighter, you have to get him out. But I'm pissed off that my tax dollars went to that. He should get a bill for that. Like the same way you do with an ambulance, you should get a bill if you have the firefighters call because you did something ignorant. Yes, absolutely. That's completely unacceptable. Also, today's an anniversary. Not my anniversary, but it's an anniversary of 6 years ago today. The NBA voted against the trade that would have brought CP3 to the Lakers because of hating Dan Gilbert. But where we're going to get started at is the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 is changing its football schedule to be more competitive in the college football playoffs. I wrote an article about it on unafraid.com. You can check it out about how the committee got it wrong and screwed us, the fans, by putting Alabama in the college football playoff. And secondary part of that article is how the ACC and the SEC have a systematic advantage over the Pac-12 when it comes to making the college football playoffs. And that's because of the 8 conference games versus the 9 conference games. When you play 8 conference games, it averages 4 losses per team. Mind you, they're spread out differently, but that gives every team a total of 4 losses that they have to spread around essentially. For the Pac-12, Big 12, and Big 10, they play 9 conference games, which is 4.5 losses per team. So they're going to lose more games. Wouldn't be a problem if they scheduled better, but that's not what happens. But the Pac-12 continuously had been putting itself at a disadvantageous spot by their scheduling. They would schedule late games. The Pac-12, that's why they have the hashtag Pac-12 after dark, because there's so many games played midnight on the East Coast because they want eyeballs on them because there's a 3-hour time difference, so you're not going to have them playing at 9 o'clock in the morning. So Pac-12 teams are already at a huge disadvantage just geographically because they're on the West Coast. But then you add in those late games, and then they would turn around and play on Fridays, the next Friday, trying to get more eyeballs. And this has hurt the conference tremendously when it comes to making the college football playoffs. Because I know as a Pac-12 guy, like a person who played in the Pac-12, there's nothing more frustrating than when people consistently try to call the Pac-12 weak. I mean, it is insane that you have these teams from the ACC, SEC, who consistently play poor competition in non-conference and then manipulate the schedule all the way up and then try to call the Pac-12 sorry. Like, hey, LSU lost to Troy, but you're going to call the Pac-12 sorry. Man, if you'll get the hell out of here. Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner, first of all, before he even addresses the schedule, which it was a big thing, first of all, Larry Scott needs to address the Pac-12 officials. I love, Pac-12 football is very interesting to watch, but there's nothing more frustrating than watching Pac-12 officials. These dudes are awful at times, particularly with the inconsistent pass interference calls. I mean, they just get in the way of the game continuously. Like, when you watch some of these other conferences play, you don't see all these damn penalties. I mean, oh, God. Oh, God. Yo, I'm definitely getting in Fentress, you guys. Definitely. So the biggest changes are
in the way of the game continuously. Like, when you watch
is that the biggest thing that you'll notice is that no team is going to play 12 games in a row. There will be no Pac-12 team that played 12 games in a row. So the team that did that this year was USC. They played 12 games in a row. 11 of them versus Power 5 teams. And then the first game of the season, they played Western Michigan, which is an unbelievable schedule. Like nobody else. The other thing is that no Pac-12 team will have a Saturday road game and then be required to play another road game if they played late. So that is, and the reason why they're going to change that is because when it happened this past year, most of those teams lost those games. Like Washington State got blown out by Cal, partially because of the schedule. USC lost to Washington State, had the same exact situation. And it was a real hot topic, and it has to change. Because when you have all these conferences being extremely strategic in the way they schedule and who they schedule, the Pac-12 has to at least make itself competitive by scheduling, by making their schedule in a way that it actually gives their teams a chance to be successful. Because they had not been giving their teams a chance to be successful. If USC doesn't lose that game against Washington State, they're in the playoffs. Instead of Alabama. Well, actually, I don't know if the committee would have did it instead of Alabama, but they should have been in instead of Alabama. That's what the Pac-12 is really trying to do, is be more competitive with their scheduling. You guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed. Right now, you're watching Unafraid. It is very important that the Pac-12 does that. Because if you don't, you're not going to be competitive. You are going to completely miss out on the playoffs and what's going on. And be left out in the dark. And the only team that's going to have a chance is USC because they have a big name in terms of history. Next thing up, and then we're going to get to the Ducks after that, is LiAngelo and LaMelo Ball. They've signed with an agent. Their dad, LeVar Ball, he wants them to play together in Europe instead of playing at UCLA. And I was asked, is this crazy? LeVar said he's trying to get his sons to the Lakers as soon as possible. And the arguments I've heard against this are that he's robbing his kids of their high school experience. He's robbing LaMelo, who's got his own shoe with Big Baller brand and been around the world now and all this, that he's robbing them of their high school experience. And I'm like, how? How is he robbing them of their high school experience? And how is he robbing LiAngelo of his college experience? Because I'll tell you this, the college experience is completely overrated for one-and-done basketball players. Somebody just made the comment, the worst thing he can do is taking them out of the eyes of the scouts, etc. You guys, make sure you guys send in your comments. I always love them. No, he's not taking his sons out of the eyeballs of scouts. The NBA drafts foreign players playing in Europe all the time. The eyeballs are going to be there. And they're not the first players to do this. Because he's not robbing them of their college experience. And the main reason is because these are kids who could potentially be one and done in the NBA. And if they're one and done, they're only on campus for 7 months. That's not a college experience. And then when you look at the kids who go one and done and what parents actually do, if you guys don't know this, let me break something down for you. My son is in 6th grade. He may be going to a private school next year that's really good out here in the Valley. And for 7th grade, maybe through high school if it works out, all this stuff. There is a kid on his baseball team. They do it in baseball, football, basketball. They ask some of these kids who are smaller but still very talented to stay back a year, to repeat 6th grade or repeat 5th grade. That way they can be bigger, faster, stronger, ready for high school ball the way they're older. Yes, they're holding them back intentionally. So the idea of sending the college experience or the high school experience for elite athletes, this is not normal. A lot of them are held back. They're living a professional lifestyle. They have a job from the time that they're in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So you can't sit up there and act like that this is like their experience is getting robbed. Their experience is already robbed because they have a job. They have a job already. So you can't act like that. And then also a lot of these kids to go to Europe. So LeVar Ball sending his kids to Europe, and his kids have signed with an agent. But is this crazy? No. There's nothing that LeVar Ball has done that has come up wrong. So I'm going to give the man the benefit of the doubt. Do I like it? The fact that he pulled LiAngelo out of UCLA? No. I don't like that. However, if he ends up winning with this, then he won. And to doubt it when he has been right so far, a little bit unfair. Does it look bad? Yeah. And is he teaching his kids to? The one thing I do not like is the fact that he's teaching his kids to take their ball and go home. Something gets tough, something gets rough, we're going to leave. We're going to pack up our stuff and go. Next thing up, the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks players, they signed a petition. At least 70 plus of these kids signed a petition to they signed a petition to keep Cristobal as the head coach. You got to swipe up, share the feed now again, the way we can get everybody in on this one. So the Ducks players, 70 plus of them, signed a petition wanting Cristobal to be the head coach. Question is, how much will this affect Rob Mullins and the rest of the decision makers' decision? I say it's only going to affect them 20 to 25%. So he's already in consideration for the job, but you cannot make the decision about the next head coach totally about the current players. That's a bad move because the current players are already on your roster. And you have to be more concerned. I know it sounds bad. However, you have to be more concerned about the future players than you do the current players. Because the current players are already at your school and they're all not going anywhere. One or two of them may be willing to leave, but you can't base it on what they want. You have to base it on who is going to be able to recruit the best, who is going to be able to do everything. And I'll get to Sumlin in a minute. And then the question is, if you hire Cristobal, can you then keep Levitt? Here is this. Or what happens if you don't hire either one of them? Will you be able to retain a lot of the staff? Coaches are men. They're prideful men. A lot of them were athletes, college, pro athletes. They're prideful men, and they have ambitions. And all the assistant coaches, they want to be head coaches. If you have a program your best coaches are going to get poached, especially the young ones, because they will leave for career advancement. Because that's what they want. They want to be head coaches. Levitt has said it publicly. Cristobal wants to be a head coach again. So these things are facts. And if you're passed up, if you're Levitt or Cristobal and you get passed up for this job, of course you're going to be disappointed and consider leaving the program, for sure. However, you have to make the smart move, and they are. They will make a smart move because the optimal goal for them is to be a head coach, and they have to put themselves in the best possible position to get another head coaching job. Period. End of story for all of them. And but if you're the Ducks, your top candidates have to be Kevin Sumlin, Justin Wilcox, Mike Norvell, Harsin from Boise State. Like, those have to be your top guys. If it is not Cristobal or Levitt, my prediction for a head coach that likely Sumlin, probably Sumlin, because he's able to recruit nationally. He's shown that. He's got big ties to Texas. He can probably get kids from out there from Texas. But the one holdup that I could potentially see with Kevin Sumlin, that would likely be probably the coaching staff, because he may be able to, because he would probably want to be able to bring more of his guys over, because coaches want to hire their own staffs. He would probably want to bring more of his guys in. I'll get to Fentress. The idea that Kevin Sumlin can't win is crazy, because he won 10 games with Johnny Manziel, and he's never won less than 8 games in a season at Texas A&M. This year he won 7. Because he didn't finish the season. So he's never won less than 8 games. So he's won 8 games, 9 games, 10 games, 8 games, 8 games, 8 games. Like, this is what he does. So that means that you're close to breaking through. If you never have losing seasons and you continuously are competing and 1 game away from winning your championship side of the North or South division of your championship, or East or West in the SEC, you are a good coach. So don't knock Sumlin. Actually look at what he's done and the fact that the man has been able to recruit, put him with a great staff, because their defense was an issue at Texas A&M. No, 8 wins isn't an average team. Sorry. You have room for growth. So I get why people at Texas A&M were upset, and frustrated, because you want to win a championship. But let's be real. Texas A&M is to the SEC what Arizona State is to the Pac-12. It is. Or what, like it's like a second tier team, and that's what Arizona State is. That's what Texas A&M is. And Oregon's a first tier team in the Pac-12, so you have an opportunity to win and do better than he did there. 8 wins a year playing Bama, Auburn, LSU every year. Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm not so impressed with the names on the jersey. Like, some of those teams are a little bit overrated. Speaking of I'll get to Josh Wilcox real quick. Here's what I know about Josh Wilcox. I played with Josh Wilcox, who's the coach at Cal. And when you look at his coaching kind of history, his timeline. So he's been at Boise State, defensive coordinator, been at Tennessee, did well there. Been at USC, was doing well, but the head coaching position was unstable with Sarkisian, and he ended up taking the fall for that. Coached well at Wisconsin. Fantastic. Then got the job at Cal. Cal, don't look at their record. When you look at the improvements he made to that Cal football team, you're like, this is something. Yes, Justin, not Josh. His brother's Josh. I played with Justin. And Josh was a tight end at Oregon. So Justin is a good candidate, a good candidate. And you know that he likely wouldn't be leaving. I know the Ducks fans are insecure about coaches leaving right now, but you can't be. Like, people are going to want your coaches. And this is a business. Like, you want to, I explained it yesterday, you want a business owner and not an operator. That's the reason why I would say that Sumlin would be my ideal outside coach. Outside of Cristobal and Levitt would be the ideal coach. Then I don't think that Sumlin would be out of there quickly. And then also you sign him to a buyout that would preclude that. No, I don't think the locker room implodes. I mean, if Cristobal is not the head coach, I know they signed a petition, but come on. Like, you cannot base the decision based upon what current players want. You can factor in that in as a decision, but it can't be your end-all, be-all, because in a couple years, those guys will be gone. They just know him already, and they're used to him and have a camaraderie with him. So you want to keep him on your staff? Absolutely. 100%. You do not want him to go anywhere, but you have to be real about, about things. No, I think Coach Pimp ends up with Willie down in Florida State. But the next thing is, so I tweeted out yesterday. I said, Ducks fans, it's time to turn the page on the coach. Stop talking about him and stalking his moves. We built a program, not a couple of good teams because of a coach. Coaches come and go. Next man up. Bowl game in 9 days. That was yesterday. And National Signing Day. Early signing day. Jeez Louise. In 13 days. 12 days now. And then I go on and I see something inferior. Oh, my God. I almost blew up. So I just started following Fentress. Any Oregon fans know who he is. He's a guy, he does a television show, writes for the Oregonian, I think for NBC or CBS out in Portland. And here is what I know. So he wrote an article entitled, Karma Bit Oregon in the Backside, but the Ducks will recover. But Ducks will recover. And oh, my God. And the article was simply saying that the Ducks got what they deserved with the last head coach, Willie Taggart, because they were not loyal to Helfrich. And it was karma that the coach left after 1 year because Helfrich deserved one more year and a firm sit down. Get it together, Helfrich, after a 4-8 season. I almost fell down. I could not help but respond to this. I didn't know him very well. I just started seeing his tweets a couple days ago. And I responded with this. I told him my 2 rules for firing a coach. 2 rules. Number 1, you could absolutely find a new head coach. That's the first thing. Second thing is there was a loss of hope. He couldn't sell recruits, his team, fans, or the administration, this is Helfrich, on the idea that the future was brighter than the past. He couldn't. The team, and then even if those 2 things weren't enough, the team had no discipline and didn't play hard. And when I responded to this, I was like, damn. And then people started telling me that Fentress was a troll. And I'm like, man, it was so frustrating to me because I'm like, hold up. So you watch the games. You clearly covered the Ducks. 2000, they won with Marcus Mariota. The next year when we lost in the TCU bowl game, we went 9-4 after being up 30 points, 9-4. The team was starting that pillow fight activity. They weren't recruiting tough guys. They're recruiting soft guys. Weren't recruiting well-talented guys. They're trying to recruit good guys instead of good football players who are also good individuals that we can try to build and mold into good young men. Helfrich failed. He's a good man, a good dude. Nobody can say anything bad about his character, but he failed as the coach. You just have to be honest about this. Like, you can't pretend like it's something that it's not. And And then, so this went on into like a back and forth thing and all of this. I'll get to Scott Frost and all that stuff. And yeah, Helfrich's rule recruiting team captains only. No, you can't only have team captains. You need a mix. You need a little bit of turd, and you need a little bit of high quality individual, and then most of your kids in the middle. That way everybody can come up, because you need a little bit of grit and a little bit of nasty. Like, you need people who are willing to, that you have to stop and talk to them and say, oh, hey guys, don't step on him. Actually, like just drag your foot on him when you go by. Don't step on him. Don't get the penalty. You know. And then so Fentress went on. So this is a back and forth all day for like an hour and a half yesterday. And his whole thing was to tell Oregon fans to be realistic. Tell people to be realistic. Realistic. You know, it's not FSU. You're going to have some down years, blah, blah, blah. Why? Why? Florida State has been to 36 consecutive bowl games. And you're going to tell me teams like Georgia, which is in Athens, FSU, which is in Tallahassee, Oklahoma, which is in Norman, Oklahoma. Oregon and Oklahoma have about the same amount of high school talent. They're not any different. They're not any better. So the subscribing to the idea that you cannot recruit to Oregon at a high level is false. Willie Taggart proved that. And to tell fans to be realistic is silly. Because I'll tell you one thing is, when you have big goals, I said this to Fentress yesterday too. This is not just about the Ducks. This is in life, people. When you have big goals, never, ever, ever listen to people telling you to be realistic. Realistic people do good things. People who are bold and have high expectations do great things. Telling me to be realistic. I wish I would tell my kid to be realistic. You tell my kid to be realistic, you might as well have called him a name. I'm gonna be pissed off at you. You tell my kid to be realistic. Get out of here, man. If you have higher expectations, you can achieve more. And the Ducks can do that. Like, I would agree, it's a total cop-out. It's weak as hell. Weak as hell. Like, it gets no weaker than that. I mean, I'm not trying to call Fentress a bad guy, but, he probably wants more in life, or maybe he settles. He's like, this is the best I can do. This is the best I can do. Not that he's doing bad in life, but these are people who have deathbed regrets. Deathbed regrets. Like, you don't want, if you own a company, do you want people in your company who don't want to advance in their career or do anything great? Like, do you want them people who are just content with their $100,000, $75,000 salary and say, yeah, it's cool? Like, is that what you want? Or do you want greatness? Like, everybody's trying to do the best for their life. Ain't no settling. 100% agree with you guys on that. Like, there is no settling. He doesn't have a college degree. Well, that doesn't mean anything, because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have one either. So it's not necessarily determination on your life. Like, it doesn't condemn you in life. So we've already been over the Pac-12 schedule, how that is being affected and changing, and that's going to affect the Ducks, because the Pac-12 teams, which I went over already, their schedule is changing. They are not going to play Saturday night games and come back and play Friday night games, all this, because the College Football Committee is set up against the Pac-12. It is. So you have to make accommodations in your schedule to do better. Oh yeah, there is no better brand in college football than Nike and Oregon. It's just not. We are the only school that actually has an owner in that way. And we've already been over LaMelo Ball. I posted the thing about the firefighter who had to go rescue the YouTuber. And I will point out an interesting thing. So I already went over Cristobal and Sumlin. Sorry, you're going to have to go start the feed over. But I've already said Oregon should at least be in bowl games every single year, and also be competing for a championship nearly every single year. Oregon plays Ohio State pretty soon. Actually, I'll pull up the exact schedule right now. So you guys, we will be coming back today with the unafraid anonymous emails. So the Oregon schedule, the non-conference schedule for 2018, which I don't even want to talk about. Like, this is embarrassing. I know that it was either Texas A&M or Auburn canceled a game against us this year, so it's not their fault. However, it still sucks. It still sucks. We're playing Bowling Green, Portland State, and San Jose State. How dare you? That's the wife over here.
Not the first time.
No, Denisha, Georgia and Auburn both backed out of games against Oregon.
Another school is a lot of schools.
It's tough to find. They backed out last year or 2 years ago. Okay. And then in 2019, we play Auburn in Arlington.
Who's USC and UCLA's non-conference schedule?
They didn't cancel against them. And then in 2020 we play Ohio State. So hush your mouth, woman. Hush.
So you'll play a competitive team in 3 years?
Hush. I've already said I don't like these college football schedules.
And then your school does it.
That doesn't mean I'm okaying it. I've condemned Oregon for their schedule as well.
Condemn them?
Yes, I've condemned them for that. It's unacceptable, 100%.
Well, then become a Bruin.
Become a Bruin. Get out of here.
Chip Kelly and we got
I know you have Chip Kelly.
And we have season tickets.
We do have season tickets to UCLA, and where did my wife go to school? She went to UCLA. She went to UCLA. Our whipping boys.
In the world.
Our whipping boys. We will be back in just a few minutes with the wife and the expert. Are you almost ready to go?
Nope. I need a little bit.
With the wife and the expert, with the unafraid anonymous emails. Make sure you guys jump in for those. They are going to be great. They are fantastic this week, even better than normal. I appreciate you guys joining me today. We will catch you guys later. Oh, my wife should have a show of her own. Oh, I don't. She's not that funny. She's not that entertaining. She's all right. I'll let her join me occasionally, like I do. I'll let you.
Stop saying that.
All right, peace out, guys.